Hi, everyone. So Luisa, and I'm here to talk about Earth Day and spring. And as you know, Earth Day is always celebrated in spring. And the concept of spring fills me with wonder and curiosity, and at the same time makes me wonder what springs into your mind when you hear the word spring. And you can just think about it, or you can put it in the chat. I'll leave a few seconds for you to write whatever you think about when you think of spring. Cool, new life. That's awesome. Birds singing. Yeah, wildflowers, warmth, gardening, so many cool things. And thank you. Could you go back, please? So the biggest thing that I wonder about spring, sun warmth, thank you. That leads us perfectly into what I'm going to talk about today. What I really wonder about is what causes spring and what causes the season. Next. The seasons. So scientists tell us that our Earth is tilted from the north to the South Pole at 23 degrees. And the north to the South Pole is how our Earth rotates in order to give us night and day. That tilt, next please, that tilt also causes sorry guys, I didn't practice it by sharing. Our tilt also causes our seasons, because in winter time, you can see in winter that we are tilting away from the sun. The sun's rays are more slanted, the sun seems lower in the sky, the days are shorter, and the temperature is much colder. As the Earth revolves around the sun and reaches the point where we are tilted towards the sun, that is summertime. And in summertime, the rays of the sun reaches more directly. The sun seems higher in the sky, the days are longer, and the temperature is much warmer. Next. And spring is a transition from winter to summer. It is officially measured as the exact moment or the exact day when the length of day and the length of night are equal. So next. Spring was so important to early humans that in many cultures, they built monuments in order to monitor the rise of the sunrise or the sunset during spring. Next. But what would happen if you didn't have a calendar or you didn't have the news? How would you know that spring had arrived? That it was, no, go back, please, that spring had arrived. You could definitely try and create your own Stonehenge, but I'm going to tell you that trying to stare and predict where the sunrise is going to come is going to give you eye strain. So instead, you could follow the movements of the sun through the shadows that it casts. Next. So both of these pictures were taken at 1:30 in the afternoon. One was taken in May, which is spring, and the other one was taken in October, which is fall. Can you guess? And you could just guess in your minds, or you could put it in the chat. Which one of these pictures was taken in the spring? And if you guess the one on the left, the one with leaves, you would be correct. So shadows are a way to study this move. Thank you, Rosa. Shadows are a way to study the movement of the sun, and I'm going to give you a really simple way to study the sun, the movements of the sun during the day and during the seasons without giving yourself eye strain. So next, please. All you need is a sunny day or a series of sunny days. Yep, again, one more. You can use a stuffy, some chalk, and a cement pad, or you can, next, you can this is a picture of a toothpick. This is embedded in plasticine, and it's a cardboard, a piece on top of a piece of cardboard. And the line that you see is the shadow of the sun very early in the morning. So next. So you can create your shadow plot by, now click several times, please. Yeah. Monitoring the length, one more, please. Monitoring the length of the shadow, and you can do this. You can either just mark it, you can measure it, or you can tell time by it. Next, please. This is what the shadow plot looks like if you do it on a piece of paper, on a cardboard. And these readings were all taken an hour apart, but I had to do it over several days because we had variable cloudiness. So you can see that over 5 days, you were able to spread your shadow plot over 5 days. I guarantee you that this activity is going to fill you with wonder. But today, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, make some predictions. The first one is, what do you think is going to, this is my spring shadow plot. What do you think is going to happen when you run this one in the fall or the winter? And you can either just put your answers in the chat or just think about it. And if you answered, click, please. Okay. And if you thought that the shadows would get longer in the fall and the winter, you are correct. And here's the most fascinating part about a shadow plot. Can you guess which cardinal direction these shadows are pointing towards? And again, you can put it in the chat or you can just think about it. And if you guessed north, you would be correct. In fact, the shortest shadow, which is in the middle, is pointing directly north to the North Pole, the exact point where the Earth is rotating around in order to give you night and day, and that is tilted at 23 degrees in order to give you the seasons. Next. And if you don't have a compass, don't worry, just go out at night and look for the Big Dipper. Click. And click again. And follow the stars in the pot. Click again, please. Follow these stars right to Polaris, the North Star, which again is directly over geographic north, the North Pole, the point at which our Earth is rotating in order to give us night and day, as well as the seasons. Next, please. But coming back down to Earth, how about if you and your students create scavenger hunts for each other? For example, how many colors do you see in this particular spring bloom, which from a distance looks like it's just pink? You can use paint chips or rainbow chips in order to match, to focus your eyes on the colors, or no, and especially, next please, especially, you please ask whoever is using this to not tear anything that's living from where it is, but rather bring your paint chips up to whatever you're trying to match. Next. The other thing you can do is look at the sounds of spring. So I invite you to make deer ears, which is where you cup your hands behind your ears. And I'm going to invite you, this is a very short recording, about 20 seconds. If you can't hear it very clearly, don't worry, it's not very long. How many different bird songs do you hear? Go ahead, okay, Stephanie.
I might have forgotten to click share sound, so let's see if it works. Do you hear it?
I do. It keeps starting again, so maybe you could just stop it and stop it. So I'm not sure if you heard that, but this was a morning. Just go back, please. This was in the morning, and if you heard between 6 and 9 different bird songs, you would be correct. Okay, next. Next, please. As you create the scavenger hunt in your space, notice if there are any areas that are so bare that they could benefit from some soil and some native plants in order to increase color and sounds and life. For example, the one on the left can become this, and the one on the right is going to become this. In May, we're going to do a big planting. So next, please. This is called Naturescaping, which is a landscape design that conserves or increases BC's biodiversity. Next. We have resources online. For example, the provincial guide tells you why BC's biodiversity is so important, and some more resources that tell you what are the native plants in your space and the native and their preferred ways of, and their preferred conditions under which they grow and wildlife that they will attract. Go ahead, just click again. You can also find resources for making a bird-friendly backyard. Click again, please. A toad home or attracting beneficial insects or beneficials to your yard. And lastly, I would invite you to always be like the first naturalists, to be curious, to experiment. It may not work, but regardless, if you're curious and you experiment, you will learn from the wisdom of nature. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luisa. That was incredible. All
Thank you,
right.
Stephanie. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, so next up we have Brenda. Take it away, Brenda.